All right. Here we go back again on the other side of the coin, ladies and gentlemen. Look who I have here, Younes. It seems like we just talk to each other every single day, which is what it is at the moment, to be honest. It is how it
Yeah,
is.
it kind of is.
We do talk to each other almost every single day, and obviously Matisse is in the mix as well. But I had to get this organized. As you know, we've got that weekly show with Matisse, and we don't want to sort of overdo it with our content always throwing out. But I just had to bring Younes in this particular conversation today because I read an article from the Athletic guys early this morning. Would have been late UK for all the UK people, wherever else is everyone residing. And I just thought I need to elaborate this article, and the best person I could ever imagine was Younes. So first of all, Younes, my man, how you doing? Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on. This is going to be interesting because obviously you hit me up and you was like, I've seen this article. I've read this article. This is crazy. And I was like, okay, cool. And I haven't read it. That's the thing. Like you sent it to me, but I couldn't read it. For one, I'm not subscribed to The Athletic. I should be, but I don't know what's in that article. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you got in store.
This is perfect. Initially, I was thinking it would be good if Younes had some idea about the article. That way we can bounce. But now that I think about it, it's perfect. I don't need you to know about the article because that way you just hear what I've sort of read, and then you just basically tell me how you sort of analyze that yourself, and then we can come to a conclusion at the end of it. So basically, the article, what it talks about in the article, Younes, is some key issues in regards to our recent matches, right? You know how we've talked about it last time when you were here in my channel, and we were saying that it's not a coincidence that these losses or these poor matches are happening. Like a lot of people don't take their time to dig deep and find out there has to be certain reasons around here for these results to happen. It's not just that, oh, you know what, it was just a poor result. Like we move to the next one. It's not like that.
Which is what many want it to be, but it's not.
Exactly. And a lot of people will go into the whole backdrop of, but we had that 17-match unbeaten run. So, how could it just turn around like that? Surely it's just an anomaly. No, this article comes out and talks about the different things that have gone wrong in recent times. So there's 4 things, Younes. There's 4 particular things that they've come out with. I'm sure there's probably others, but 4 main ones that they've come out with. And I want to kind of indulge in some of these points, right? So first of all, I'm just trying to figure out which point to go with because they're all just as important. I'm going to go with the Timo Werner one, firstly, Younes. Yeah. So what they talk about, Timo Werner, and it's kind of what we've in recent times I've talked about, but they've elaborated it with stats, and some of these stats are going to really blow your mind, right? So first of all, Timo Werner for Leipzig, and you've sort of known this a little bit, but here's some stats for you. In Leipzig, he was playing 78% of his time last season as a striker. So center forward, 78% of the time, okay?
Yeah.
18% was as a center attacking midfielder, so just behind the striker. So not even on the left side, just behind the striker. 4% was on the left side. 4% of his entire season last season that our Chelsea fan base, deemed to say that he can play on the left side. He's played as a left wing, but that's only 4% of the time last season in Leipzig that he's actually played on the left side. 4%. Now, compare this with Chelsea. 63% of the time he was on the left side so far for us this season. 25% he's been in the center forward position, and 1% whatever else, right? And they go on to talk about and they go on to talk about saying that by doing this, him being on the left side, his ball retention stats have been poor, his progressive passing has been poor, and he's been poor with the link up as well, right?
Yeah.
So he's having to do a lot more being on the left side for Chelsea because every time he gets the ball, he tends to lose it around that side. Every time he gets the ball, he's not looking for that progressive pass. He's looking for the sideward pass because he's not comfortable being on the left. He doesn't know how to progress the ball forward. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not used to that. So that side of it was very interesting to see, Younes. And what I want to ask you now is, surely Frank Lampard would have known this, right? Like, why pencil him on the left side knowing these stats are readily available for everyone? These are not, new things. So your thoughts about, this madness that he keeps playing on the left?
Yeah, there's there's two things. One is the club will be fully aware, surely. There's all sorts of analysts and people that work just with this data, at the club. Not just Chelsea, any professional club will have people behind the scenes that will work just with data like this in order to report, look at certain patterns and look at certain attributes of players, what they're doing wrong, what they're doing right, and then give that to the manager literally on paper. All professional clubs have that. So I am 250% sure, that's not possible, but 250% sure that the club and Lamps will be fully aware of that. Yeah. Now, my issue is you can sympathize a little bit because of the injuries that Pulisic and Ziyech had. You can understand, we initially put Werner on that left-hand side because we knew he'd done it before at Leipzig. Obviously 4% of the time, but he'd done it before at Leipzig. and there wasn't really anyone else to come in and fill for someone that is one of the main players in the team, in the absence of Pulisic and Ziyech. Now, you play a certain amount of games and you realize, hey, this isn't working. You realize there's something wrong. He's not comfortable. Well, that's the point. You have to look for an alternative solution here. And, that's where it comes into a possible formation change, or you look at someone that you need to promote into the team, someone that is a winger from the academy. If you haven't got a choice, you haven't got a choice. We don't blame you, but you don't do the same thing that's clearly not working. Now, with Werner, I have always felt Werner is someone that is a player who should be playing as a striker, whether it's a left forward, right forward, or centre forward, but just a forward, not a winger. Someone that can receive the ball and think, I'm going to put this in the net. I'm not looking to feed someone. I'm not looking to play the deadly pass. I'm not looking to give a through ball. If it's there and it's an occasion, cool. We expect that versatility. But the aim should be, as we saw from Werner in the first few games, he was playing as a centre forward. Like that game against Southampton, if I'm not mistaken, where he scored twice. I mean, that is what you want from Werner. He had received the ball, think, I'm going to get past the defender, I'm going to put it in the net. That's it. And he done just that. One of the goals, he went past two defenders, stuck it over the keeper and headed it into the net. Like, that is what we need from Timo Werner. On the left wing, the prime aim isn't to score. The prime aim is to try and assist the play, to try and get past your man.
And get past the man.
Cross. Get a cross in, get a through ball in. You're not the prime goal scorer in that situation, and that's what I feel Timo Werner's meant to be. So, the more he plays there, the more mistakes he makes, the more his confidence dips. And this is why now I'm still willing to give him the opportunity and give him that chance to play as a centre forward, not just for one game or two games, but for a run and see what he can do. Because I'm confident he will bang in goals. He just needs to play where he needs to play.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm with you on this because I find some of this criticism in recent times in social media that all of a sudden this guy's not a good player. All of a sudden, there's all sorts of stats coming out that he's poor with his first touch. Yeah, sure, he is poor with his first touch, but his first touch shouldn't even be a concern because he should just play as a centre forward, banging in goals. That's his main concern. It's not like he has to be on the wide where he has to regularly touch the ball. So I just thought, what the crazy part is, Younes, is that when Frank had seen him a couple of matches playing on the left and seen that, okay, he's not the greatest player there, I just can't believe that he hasn't taken the time to change that around. Like, he just still persisted with it. It's almost as if to say, Frank, I don't know, have you done your homework? Like, have you must have seen this player play for Leipzig, right? Like, and the article goes on to talk about how Timo Werner loves space behind. There was that assist from Jorginho in that match that you're talking about, Southampton, where that first time ball. And we'll get to that. Exactly. And we'll get to that, which I reckon it's a good segue now. Kante. So we've talked about one of the issues was Timo Werner. Second one that they were talking was Kante. One of the things that we've just said right now is that ball progression from Jorginho when he plays. I know Jorginho's got deficiency, but the thing about Jorginho is that one-time pass, to find Timo Werner just behind the defense, he's done a few times for Tammy Abraham as well last season, as you can recall. One of the things the article goes on to say is that Kante's performances in big matches so far, so you look at in recent times Arsenal and Man City, both the times we've lost 3-1. And it goes around saying that he's been sluggish in receiving possession, sloppy with distribution, clumsy in conceding fouls. So, and that's exactly what's been happening with Kante in these big matches in recent times, where I think we've said it as well many times that him sitting in that lone DM position, there's certain times when we need to progress the ball. He just doesn't have that quality to progress it quick enough. Hence, he becomes sloppy with the ball. Is that what you're sort of noticing as well in recent times?
Yeah, to an extent, yes. I don't put the full responsibility on him. But yes, like you've seen, there's been clear times. It's like the goal that we conceded against Man City, where the third goal, I think it was, where he wanted to clear it. I don't know what he wanted to do, but it hit a Man City player straight on the head. Boom, straight rebound, and all of a sudden Sterling is in one-on-one. And fair play, Kante did make it back for that. I'll give him that. He made it back, but we still conceded. So
exactly.
There are those mistakes that we are seeing, but what I'm baffled about Kante is when we play him in that role and all of a sudden the criticism is, he can't work the ball, he can't progress. But when we play him in an 8, for example, he can work the ball, he can progress. Do you know what I mean? It's not like he's limited in that ability. We know he can. The one thing I don't think he's really good at is, as you said, the ball that Jorginho, for example, can ping across. That vision that you need in order to send a 25-yard ball from across the top or something, or diagonal straight to a winger. Like Jorginho, we know can do that to a T. That's the problem with Jorginho. That looks like that's all he can do. With Kante, he doesn't have that. But I feel like, in a sense, he's been abandoned in midfield. I feel like when we have an opposition that's on transition and we've lost possession, all of a sudden we're having to defend. I feel like sometimes Kante's just by himself having to deal with it alone.
Exactly.
It's like that City game or the games that we've lost and we've seen ourselves exposed in midfield. It's just Kante trying to sweep by himself. He's got 2 or 3 midfielders coming to him and no one to help. I feel like, I don't want to put ultra criticism on N'Golo Kante because we know he's a top player. Other things that he's doing wrong, yes. But I feel like if he had a midfield around him, that would protect him and that would make him do less. And then that would protect our back line. I feel like our main concern is coming from our midfield, like the City game, it was non-existent. So no one should expect a Kante, for example, to do everything by himself. It's not going to happen. I think even Prime Makalele would have struggled doing everything by himself.
100%. The reason why I say that, and you're right, in regards to not all blame should be given to him, but the article goes on to say that him sort of sitting in that position and being one of the first people to receive the ball, he's not used to that. As you said, as an 8, he's not the first one to receive the ball. He's generally the second or the third one to receive it, and he's already facing forward. And generally what the article is saying, he's more of a seek and destroy kind of player. So generally what happens is without the ball, he'll intercept and then he'll run and then he'll distribute. Whereas him sitting as a 6, he's generally one of the first ones to get the ball from Mendy sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Because the 2 centre-backs are wide, he gets the ball first. And this is where the issue is that, and I remember Zola talking about this during Sarri time, that because everyone was criticizing Sarri that why aren't you playing, Kante in his natural position, which is the lone DM. And Zola has said, and I remember Sarri has actually said as well post one of the post matches that he doesn't believe that's Kante's strongest characteristic, to receive the ball first and then distribute. He needs someone in that position that is one-touch passes, quick. The kind of player like Jorginho is who knows a pass before the ball even comes to him. The ball's coming towards him, he knows where the ball's going to go. Like he knows that pass is going to go to the left or to the right. And this seems to be one of the issues where now I'll get on to the second part of it. So they talked about Kante in bigger games, how opposition seem to cram him up, right? Because they know he's not capable of doing that duty that Frank is wanting to do that from that build up. And they go on to talk about the third issue, which is the pressing, right? Before we get to that, super chat from Dami, thank you heaps, man. Younes and Miz speaking facts as per. Thanks, Dami, for that, man. But yeah, the third thing was the whole pressing thing. And what they go on to say is a poorly coordinated press. And they say that the unbeaten run, here's a bit of a lie. I don't know how many times we've actually gone back and visited the unbeaten run. In that unbeaten run, we beat Palace, Burnley, Sheffield United, Newcastle, and Leeds. All teams that are bottom half of the table. Those are the ones that were beaten in that 17-match unbeaten streak, mixing with some draws, obviously. When fixtures are difficult...
Sorry, are those the only ones we won? Are those the only ones we've won?
Well, the Premier League ones during that 17 match. So those are the Premier League ones. And it goes on to say, when fixtures are difficult, results have been poor. So whenever the opposition got a little bit difficult, so for instance, your Southampton, Man United, Spurs, we didn't win these. We drew these, right? Liverpool, we lost. West Ham was within the top 10, and we all know most parts of the game, West Ham actually controlled the match. We just got away with it. And they were saying that the press, it all starts from there without the ball. What's happening is in the article, they've got it all nicely drawn up, right? They were talking about the whole Arsenal game and the City game. And they were saying that in the Arsenal game, it was too easy at times for Xhaka to receive the ball from the keeper, Leno. And what would happen then is either Mason Mount or Kante would drive in and try and get to him. And the other two midfielders, whether it be Jorginho, Mason Mount, or Kante, whoever is the left behind one, they're not following it up to cover for where Xhaka can go. So what's happening is the opposition are finding it too easy to just circle around our midfield. The press is not united. It's
exactly
done by it's done by just one person, and the other two are sleeping. Yeah. And then what happens is Xhaka then finds a pass, and that's when they react. But by then it's too late. That's when you're chasing your tail, and before you know it, the opposition has broken through our midfield line, and then they've exposed our centre back. So, and we've seen this in the City match as well, right? Younes, like how many times KDB and Gundogan and Foden just broken us up. So Frank should, he's watching this, right?
Surely. Surely. If you're pointing it out, I'm pointing it out. Obviously, there's been articles done like there is on The Athletic. Everyone can see it. That's my one issue as well with this team is we don't do things united. Do you know what I mean? We don't do things as a block. When we move forward, we don't move forward as a block. When we defend, we don't defend as a block. When we press, we don't press as a block. It's all, as I said, it's all fragmented. It's all one or two players doing it and everyone's just waiting about. Or if we're trying to defend, it's just one or two players going for a press and everyone else is doing nothing. Or, we separate attack from defense, leave a massive hole in midfield, put our defense under pressure. That's a big one. We always seem to have this massive hole in the middle. Moment they get past our attacking and midfield line, that's it.
It's open.
We're going to concede. And that was the issue at Everton. That was the issue at Wolves. That was the issue at Arsenal. Arsenal slightly different. I think Arsenal were just a little bit more wise because I don't feel like we exposed too much in the middle, but I just feel like we were
more towards the sides.
We were lazy. We were there was no energy. There was nothing. So I think Arsenal was slightly different. But Man City, our midfield, just as I said, didn't exist. We seemed to leave this massive space for any opposition to get in, have all the time in the world, and just plow straight through. We don't do
what
things.
Do you think the issue is, Younes, that last season it wasn't, last season we pressed well. This season it seems like, it's just one person pressing, it's, the others are sleeping. What's going on? I find it so weird.
If I have to, I don't want to guess. But what Frank is asking, playing that way is very demanding. Yeah. It's physically very demanding. And with a schedule like what we have now, and obviously with what's going on in the world, and we've had to cram the season in a little bit, which means all games are quite close together, which means there's no time to even like train properly. We're having to play game after game quite frequently. It's physically demanding, and I don't feel like Frank, which is surprising, I don't feel like Frank sees that as an issue. He still wants to go on with it. And sometimes you just have to accept, you know what, lads, we can't do that this week. This week, we might just need to try and conserve a bit of energy, not play so high on the press, sit back a little bit, let's try and play on the counter. Or you got to try and conserve your energy somehow, even if it means sacrificing one game for the benefit of having energy for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 games. Like I just feel like we're trying to be too intense all the time. And you look at Leeds.
How much do you reckon that Leeds game affected us? Even though we won. We outran Leeds. Leeds.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. You can't do that every week. It's impossible. And to outrun Leeds is a big deal because Leeds don't stop running. That's part of their DNA. Under Bielsa demands his team to be intense. And they've been up and down because of it. You've seen some of the results. They win by high score. They lose by high score. Like it's a circus at Leeds. But that's expected because of what Bielsa is trying to bring at Leeds. And we know that in the long run, maybe it's gonna suit them. But with us, you can't ask, especially Leeds. Leeds don't have Champions League football. Leeds don't have, there's other factors they don't have like we do. We've got to try and incorporate all of this as well at the same intensity. Lamps, I know as a player, was a very intense player. We know this. Him and that crop that he played with, they were monsters when it came to training, when it came to being serious, physical power. Like they were beasts, and we know this. And this was one of our advantages compared to any other team. We always had the more physical team. We could always outrun anyone. We could always be more physical than anyone. That was an advantage. We don't have that now. But I think Frank is trying to get that into the players and drill it in no matter what. In such a short space of time, it's impossible. So players are going to fall, whether it's due to fatigue or whether it's due to not even just physical fatigue, mental fatigue. It's requires high concentration. The Premier League is evolving as well. You're getting teams that are tactically starting to become more savvy, managers that are starting to become more savvy. It's not like before with just 3 or 4 teams that know everything and everyone else is just substandard. No, the Premier League has changed. Not like that anymore. So I just feel like, again, this comes back to the one thing with Frank Lampard, experience. There's none.
So true. So
no experience.
You know what Jose does, right? Jose, he's got certain games he'll pick out. He looks at the schedule. You know this very well. He'll go, this one we're going to go hard at. This one we're not going to go so hard at. We're going to reserve our energy, let them burn out, and see if we can get a goal in the counter. Just as you said, it's just management, right? It's game management.
It's unbelievable. And you make a really good point with Jose. I remember one example that blew my mind, and I forgot where it was. I'm not sure if it was Porto. I think it might have been Porto. And this was fairly early in his career as well. He'd only managed Benfica and one other team at this point. But at Porto, I forgot what game it was. It was a high game. But I was reading a book, and he said that he purposely told his team to concede a corner. I think there was one point in the game where he tried to get one of his players to purposely concede a corner in order for a corner to be taken and then hit that team on the counter. And it happened exactly like that, and they scored. That's how much detail at that early in his career, how much detail this guy was thinking. We know Lamps isn't at that level. Not nowhere near. Not yet. Yeah. So the problem as well, his team around him, his coaching staff, they're all from the academy as well. They're all inexperienced. It's having to look at the situation and think, no, you know what? Let's keep doing it this way. We reckon it will come good, but it's all guesswork. In the Premier League, especially, you need to base your team. Sometimes you need to base your team, despite having a base, despite having your foundation, but you need to base it on who you're coming up against. Because every team's different. Every opponent's different. Every opponent's going to set up in a different way compared to anyone else. Some are going to try and come at you. Some are going to try and sit with a low block. Some are going to close the line. Some are going to try and play really wide. You can't just play the same way against everyone. It won't work. You won't win anything. It's impossible. So I feel like Frank there's him and his team. There's just no experience to adapt to that yet.
No, for sure, man. I want to now talk about the last point in this article. So we've talked about Werner, we talked about Kante, we talked about the press. The last point, and then once we do the last one, we're going to bring it all together and sort of come up with a conclusion as to what is going on and how it can get better. So the last point was something that we kind of touched on, but in social media, it's sort of not been exposed so much. Whenever someone has tried to, they've got abuse out of it. They talk about Mendy. And I needed to read this, right? I was like, when I was reading this, I was, man, okay, I need to understand what they're talking about here. They go on to say that Mendy's, the matches that he's played so far for us, obviously the first few ones, fantastic. They're going to say 10 goals from positions where you would expect. So they had all these stats, right? So out of that, in the stats, they were saying that from positions where they would expect goals from, so there was 10 sort of situations like that where you expect goals from, Mendy basically led in 9.3 goals. So he's just average. So where there was expecting 10 goals, Mendy's led in 9.3. So it's not like he's outperformed or he's saved massively. He's basically on the level of what has been expected of the shots that has been taken against him, right? He's ranked 9th in the league for goals prevented. And then it goes on to talk about how, slightly misplaced some of these distributions as well. I think there was, distributions that was misplaced against Arsenal. I think Lacazette was one of them that right at the end where he passed straight made up for it. But these are the little things that are creeping in. Obviously, we remember against Leeds rushing out, against Everton rushing out and giving a penalty away. So basically, it goes on to say that he's not as great as our fan base have made him out to be. He's quite an average, okay type of goalkeeper. And because how bad Kepa has been for us, it's sort of put in our head that this guy is incredible. He's world class. But in essence, the stats are stating that he's an okay keeper. And now it gets to the point where what I'm trying to get to is that all this whole, I suppose, rumors with Donnarumma, now I'm starting to understand why this is coming into surface. What's your sort of thoughts around this whole concept of, I suppose Donnarumma and also Mendy? How do you read all this?
I mean, with Mendy, I think up until the Everton game, we have clean sheets. Everything seems like it's okay. He looks amazing. At that point, he even equals Petr Cech's start at Chelsea. So we looked at that and thought, this is brilliant. Finally, we got a goalkeeper. If there's a couple of things that we have to acknowledge is that, yes, sometimes from the Everton game, we've seen him come out and not just come out, maybe come out a bit too far, maybe come out and not catch the ball like he should. He's 6'6". He should be catching. Things like that. He has his advantages where, with Kepa, anyone could take a shot from 30 yards out. Chances are it's going in. That's one concern. With Mendy, we don't really have to worry about that. With Mendy as well, though, the last few games, I think, have made him look worse. He conceded 3 against Arsenal, 3 against City. That's 6 just in 2 games. But yeah, I feel like this whole Kepa Mendy thing should be put into a bit of perspective, because we knew that Kepa was having really bad games consistently, really bad games. Is that all his fault? No. I don't blame Kepa entirely, and I did say at the time when it was happening.
You've always been an advocate for that. You've never blamed Kepa entirely for all of it.
Not entirely. He's definitely got a piece to blame, 100%, yeah? But not entirely, because a goalkeeper sometimes is only as good as his defenses. Just like Kante earlier on, we can't expect him to do everything in midfield. We can't expect a goalkeeper to save every single shot that's coming at him. The job is to try and limit the amount of shots coming at him and make his life a little bit easier, and vice versa. If defense does leak, then you call on your goalkeeper to make the save that we hope he should be making. We allow ourselves to be exposed. So your goalkeeper is going to be put under that much pressure. That's for certain. But the individual mistakes that we're seeing from Mendy has increased. So I'm not concerned about Mendy. I still think he's a good goalkeeper, and I think as long as he can brush up on those couple of things and maybe compose himself a little bit, that should be better. He'll be better. In the long run, time will tell. I think he has potential to be a top goalkeeper. Obviously, Donnarumma is, everyone. I mean, as we spoke last time, we hear Donnarumma, we think he's 30. He's not. He's not 21. So it's exactly. There's so much potential there, so much for future. So we'll see. It would be an occasion, and I do think maybe this is going to happen. I do think maybe Chelsea will go in for Donnarumma, and we'll have Donnarumma and Mendy as our goalkeepers. I can see that happening. Obviously, it depends with Mino Raiola. He's not a good person to do business with, but
it is starting to make sense, Younes? Like it is somewhat making sense, because it didn't make sense to me when I first heard about the Donnarumma stuff. I think it probably didn't make too much sense to you initially either, because we talked about it in Matisse's channel. But I'm starting to think maybe Chelsea has recognized that perhaps Mendy is not the number one goalkeeper that we kind of think he is. I don't know.
I think time will tell. I don't think we can make that judgment just yet, because we've got issues in our team that we need to sort out first. Because of the way that we're playing, and because of the chances that we're leaking, and because of the amount of exposure we're allowing ourselves, you are going to put your keeper under pressure. You are going to concede. You could have Manuel Neuer in goal. We'd make him look bad. You have to give that level of understanding for the goalkeeper situation. So I'd say we need to sort out the problems we have at the moment on the pitch. Not from the goalkeeper, just the way that we're playing and the way that Lampard is setting up. Once we're playing of a certain standard, then we can look at what the goalkeeper is doing. If he's leaking in goals, he shouldn't be leaking in. If he's letting in shots that he should be saving, that me, you, or anyone else would have saved, or he's not catching the ball where he really should just be catching the ball, or those deep individual mistakes, like the Everton penalty that he conceded, individual mistake. That's one you can judge him on. A couple of some of the shots that we've seen lately, where you'd think with his reach he should be saving it.
Even Xhaka's free kick. What do you think about Xhaka's free kick? Do you reckon from that far ahead?
It was a good free kick. I'll give him that. It was a top free kick. You can maybe say Mendy was a bit too wide, a bit too one-sided. If he had been a little bit more in the middle, he probably would have saved that. But again, it depends on the positioning of the wall. And again, that's probably his responsibility. That's a hard one. It's a hard one, but it's possible that he would have a part to blame in that. However, that free kick shouldn't have been conceded in the first place. That's my issue.
Kante.
You see what I mean?
Kante was the one that gave away that free kick, and the article talks about that, how his clumsy fouling has started to occur playing in that role, because, as you said, he's having to do everything, and now he's not doing anything right.
Yeah.
So
even prior to that, because I remember the match review after that, and I mentioned it prior to Kante making that foul, where we lost possession. Was very stupid, very stupid. Two. I don't know the word. What's the word? Just stupid. You know what I mean? So not only that, you're causing yourself to be put under pressure. You're causing Kante to make a rash decision. All of a sudden, we have a free kick, and then we've conceded because of it. It's a collective amount of things which we're doing wrong. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
And it doesn't help Mendy. When we're talking about Mendy, that doesn't help Mendy's look either. This is my issue. Yeah. So I think Mendy, give him time. I think he has all the attributes to be a top goalkeeper, but I do think Chelsea will probably go in for a Donnarumma, for example. That way we have two goalkeepers that can really fight out, not just Kepa sitting on the bench doing nothing.
No, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Let's now bring all of this together and try and wrap this up, yeah?
Yeah.
So we've had the Timo Werner issues, playing 63% of his time in the left wing side when he only played 4% of his time in Leipzig. Just to let everyone know, the people that have logged in and tuning in and watching this right now, Timo Werner is not a left winger, and no, he's not. We can't even say that he's good at being on the left side. He's played 4% of his time in Leipzig last season on the left side. So he's just, basically whenever and the article actually goes on to say, Younes, that the reason why that 4% is Leipzig's coach Nagelsmann wanted him to be as a decoy. So just taking his focus away from Timo Werner. That's why he would drift away from the CBs and then allowing the other striker of Leipzig to be the main focal point. So he only did that because the focal point would go away from him. He wouldn't just stay on the left side. He would drift away so that the centre backs had something else to think about. You know what I mean? Like that was a ploy. It was not a set position for him. It was for him when he's not finding the space in the middle, just come out a little bit to the left and see what happens then. So that was more of the intention as opposed to Frank Lampard really playing him as a left wing. Then obviously we talked about the press, which is not working. It's not as a unit. We talked about the Kante issue in the big games, playing as a lone DM, not having that distribution and opposition really pressuring him and making him get into those unforced errors. And obviously the Mendy situation, which statistically, I suppose the article was trying to say that don't get too excited, Chelsea fans. He's quite an average, he's an okay keeper. So what I'm trying to get to it here is the final sort of ultimate scenario is how do we get this better? Because there seems to be some distinct issues for all the people out there that are thinking this is just an anomaly, this is just a dip, we'll get better, we'll get out of it. No, there's some fundamental issues here that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, big time. And this is where my worry is because, it's not just one issue. It's not just one thing that we need to resolve. There's a collective amount of things which isn't helping what Frank Lampard's trying to do or what system he's trying to play, even though many haven't really figured out what he's trying to do. It doesn't look like these players are, I don't want to say responding, but some of them just look bewildered. Some of them, you can even tell from the body language. If we go back to just simplistic, matters, and we just look at body language of players when they're on the pitch, it's not a very positive vibe at the moment. It's not. No. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of panic, and it makes you ask the question, like, how long does this need to be fixed? And this is where, the next few games are vital, and we know this. And this is why I've said no other manager, Chelsea manager under Abramovich, has managed to turn it around when things have gotten to this point. So if Lamps does it, it's a flipping miracle. But we need to beat Morecambe. We need to beat Fulham. We need to beat Leicester. It's as simple as that. And with issues like this, I still think we are going to get exposed. When you look at God forbid, I mean, I'm not going to even mention Morecambe. Because Morecambe, as far as I'm concerned, we should get 11 out of the reserves and still beat Morecambe.
That should be a W, big W.
And remember, there's no replay, so it goes to extra time and penalties. If it goes to extra time, I'm going to be fuming.
I reckon, Younes, if this, God forbid, if this goes to extra time, I think Frank needs to.
It's done. I mean, if there's that much of a struggle, it's anyway. That shouldn't be. We'll see what happens on Sunday, isn't it? But Scott Parker at Fulham, I feel like as a coach, he's really good. He's really good.
He's not bad.
Yeah, actually, that's probably bad. I'm not trying to say he's next flipping Alex
He's
Ferguson.
got Fulham playing recently. He's got Fulham playing.
Exactly, and he's got them stable. They've drawn, I think, 4 on the bounce or something, just to try and avoid a defeat. And it seems to be something working. Obviously, the players there are limited. It's Fulham. Let's be real. But he's making something work. Let's hope that we don't expose ourselves, and maybe Scott Parker can read an opportunity to try and overcome the situation and try and do something to us. But I think, like a Brendan Rodgers, for example, will definitely see flaws and try and expose us.
Sure.
And the flaws that we've been discussing today are not going to be resolved in 1 or 2 weeks. It's as simple as that. They're not. So that's where my worry is. That's where my concern is. I still think we're going to see those mistakes.
And this is the thing, Younes, right? These issues are not going to get fixed in as you said, in 1 or 2 weeks. My thing is, what have you been doing there all this time? Like, we're almost in halfway in the season. What's going on in training? Is it just all the stuff that Chelsea admin shows. It's fun and games. They're all laughing. They're just, nutmegging each other. Like, what's going on?
Exactly. I like that. And that's the question I've asked. What do we do in training? Training is there for training. It's there to get better. It's there to try new things. It's there to try different approaches. It's there to try and set up exercises and games in situations where you can replicate what you want to see in matches, or situations that you need to prepare yourself for. You do that all in training. You don't wait until match day to try and do something. No, you do that in training. You get players accustomed. What I heard from Tammy Abraham lately is he said there hasn't been much time for training, and there hasn't been much time for players to gel and all of that because of the circumstances we're in. As much as I hear that, because I can understand that, yeah, that's possibly true, but that affects everyone. It's not just Chelsea Football Club affected by this situation. It's every single team in the world that's affected by this situation. Do you know what I mean? Not just the Premier League, it's everywhere. So other teams are looking better and we're not. It's baffling. But in order to solve some of the issues we're seeing, that needs to be done in training. And we're in January. If it was November, October, I'd understand.
It blows my mind that we're in January.
The season's starting,
and we're talking about these fundamental things.
These are things you see in the first 5 games of your season. You see these mistakes and you think, okay, I need to rectify this, I need to rectify that. The excuse that I've heard from some people saying, but we were missing Ziyech and Pulisic, for example, so we couldn't do what we wanted to do. I hear that. But does that mean Chelsea Football Club rely on those 2 players to play that we want to play the way we want to play? If not, we're screwed. Like that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. There needs to be a standard. And if we're heavily reliant on a player like Ziyech or a player like Pulisic, that's unbelievable.
Crazy part is, Ziyech and Pulisic are not playing that well either. It's not like they're setting it up.
Well, exactly. And I'm willing to give a bit more time to Ziyech because he's just come back. But this is where I look back to the system and I look back to Lamps. Because if a player like Pulisic doesn't seem to be firing, or, these players that we've brought in and now everyone seems to be in the collective, everyone seems to be, not injured and everyone's on the pitch, it's still not working. You look to the gaffer. He looks at, hey, you got to sort something here, mate. It's not working. It's as simple as that.
Nah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. All right, man, let's wrap this up. We've talked about a whole heap of things. Hopefully, as you said, man, Frank somehow finds... Honestly, I just have this bad feeling, Younes, man. I know I've been a lot of people have been saying to me in social media, oh, man, you've been negative. You've been so negative lately. I've just got this bad feeling that it's not going to end good, man. And I just want you to finally end this, man. End this show, man. What's your final thoughts, man? What's your gut saying about this situation? Forget about the Morecambe game, man. Fulham, Leicester, Wolves.
If I'm honest, I'm going to be completely real with you here, yeah? Because when I do previews on my channel, I never want to say we're going to lose. I never. Because again, sometimes I think, what's the point? But Morecambe has to be a W. That's a dub, surely.
Don't worry about that. Yeah, that's a W. Has to be a W.
If not, season's cancelled. Fulham. I want to say a win. I mean, surely.
Even that.
Surely. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't be surprised if we drew that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Would not be surprised.
No. And as for Leicester, honestly, anything's possible. But right now, I look at Leicester and I think they're probably going to beat us.
Bro, check their match against Newcastle and see what they did, because I watched it today in the morning. Bro, they're going to eat I'm telling you, they will eat our midfield. If we keep playing the way we're playing, they will eat our midfield.
That's the thing. That's the big if. And time will tell. Time will tell. If we are still playing in the same way, same manner, same you could say system that we've been using for the past few games, Leicester will win. Hands down. hands down.
Yeah.
If we manage to change something and Frank manages to see something different to implement on the pitch, then we can't really predict. We'll just have to wait and see what happens because it's going to be something new. So, yeah, that's it, really.
No, man, that's got the real answer from you because we need to be real these days. We can be airy-fairy and whatnot. But thank you so much, Younes. I really wanted to just talk about this particular article and highlight the points of where we are going wrong. Hopefully, all the people that have joined in, you guys have got some substance as well now off the back of that as to what are some of the things that are going wrong. You can take it away and sort of have a good discussion about it in social media and whatnot. But yeah, guys, as we always do, you might have already seen that. Yeah, there's no point in plugging Younes. But the one thing I will say about Younes is, please check out his watch-alongs. That's something that's new in his channel, and I'm a fan. I'm always watching. I've got the screen where I'm watching football, and I've got the screen where I'm watching Younes's watch-along, and half the time I'm actually watching Younes, and I'm not actually even concentrating. So this is one thing, Younes, just tell the audience that, just come in, because I know you get some numbers there as well. Last time I saw there was about 3.5K people watching. I want more people to come in like AFTV style, like, 100K people come in and watch it.
Honestly, it's a really good interactive way to watch a game for sure. I enjoy doing it because I have the game on in front of me, and then I have the chat, and I can see what people are doing. It's really, really good. It's a really good buzz. But yeah, recently it's been doing well. I'd say for the wrong reasons. I'd love to get numbers in because we're battering teams left, right, and center, but I'm not. I seem to be getting numbers in much like AFTV do because we seem to be throwing games away and people want to see a reaction. So, that's not
Chelsea fans that are watching you, like the other fans that come in and just to see your reaction.
There are the majority are Chelsea fans, of course. The majority are Chelsea fans, which is good. But there are other fans that come in and they have their giggles, and I give it to them because we're the same when it comes to any other team. So fair play. But yeah, it's a really good way to see. It's a really good way to understand how I read the game as well. Because when I'm watching, I'm commentating and I'm giving my opinion on what I'm seeing right there and what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. So it's a bit more detailed than my match review, for example, where I only have 10 minutes or 15 minutes to just sum everything up. It's another one on Sunday for the Morecambe game. It's going to be. I'll do one, but I'm praying it's going to be the most chilled watch along I think I've ever done. I'm expecting to put feet up and go, all right, lads, we're going to win 5-0 today. I mean, look, since I've done the watch alongs, this is crazy. Since I've done the watch alongs, we've only won once. We beat West Ham.
Stop it! Stop. No, but
you just turn it around.
This is the only thing that I can probably say that is one thing that I'm enjoying so much in, obviously Younes's content is fantastic, but the watch-alongs, guys, get in on it. It's really good. The only thing that I can sort of plug properly for Younes, so all my people that have sort of subscribed to me and following me, please do that. Try and get in on the match-alongs with him. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining. Younes, thank you so much, my man, for coming in on late notice. And until next time, everyone. See ya.
Hello.